Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm delighted you've all joined us very early on. We'll have Sam Fran, Gav, 420, Christoph's in the comments. I'm sure it's going to be a bit tasty tonight with people's different point of views, obviously, what's happened this weekend. But before we get into that, how are you, McGinty?
I'm good. I had no idea what you're talking about. Celtic get a nice, comfortable 3-0 win. Rangers drop points. We extend the gap to 30. I didn't ken who would possibly have anything to complain about.
I know. We'll get into that. Surprising, but we'll get into it. And Franny, what about yourself?
I'm all good, mate. First day back at work after the festive period, and it was not the hardest day at work, but it was still work nonetheless, and it's never great to go back after Christmas. Just something feels different about these holidays, because it's like the start of the year, it feels like you've not got a holiday for another year or whatever.
It's so far away before you get time off again.
Aye, and I'm actually off in about 3 weeks' time.
Now you're the one complaining over nothing. We've had a lot of the last couple of days. But like you,
childcare issues. My mum and dad are away on holiday, so I need to take time off work for the rains.
I don't know. Needs must and all that, but
I never seen a holiday request form come through Mado. Bang out order.
Yeah, I've got Vincent O'Brien there in from Dublin, and Kevin. That's your uncle, isn't it, Franny? Kevin Carty.
Aye.
He had to switch off another podcast because he couldn't stand him hearing express and fake outrage. I mean, you might get a wee bit of that tonight in here. You never know. But McGinty, like you said, I mean, horrible Thursday last week. Obviously, that horrible defeat at Ibrox, and the gap was closed. It was doom and gloom. We were all feeling a bit shit. Then, obviously, Rangers go and do what Rangers do. They drop points away to Hibs at Easter Road, even though they were 2-0 up. And the Celtic had to do the job and win the game, and we would go 13 points ahead, which we done quite well, in my opinion. Before we get into the game, I think, obviously, there's been a lot of backlash and a lot of, outrage towards these comments that Brendan Rodgers made in his post-match press conferences. Well, we'll get into the game, obviously, but this seems to be the major talking point. He came out all guns blazing. I don't think he was really prompted by the media team that were in the media room at Celtic Park to even come out with these comments, but he was talking about the fact that some Celtic supporters were groaning and moaning when the ball was being played back in certain cases. And instead of that, he wants the Celtic fans to clap when they do that because they're looking for a different point of attack. And then he went on to Greg Taylor and said that he was being disrespected because the Celtic supporters were singing the Kieran Tierney song. You know, it's something that Celtic supporters have done for a long, long time, is sing the name of former players. And obviously, more evidently now, Kieran Tierney's linked with a return back to Parkhead, that maybe people are getting a little bit excited about it. But McGinty, I'll start with you. How do you feel after what Brendan Rodgers said?
I generally don't know. Taking the two obvious talk points, his gripes with the fans moaning and separating that from the Taylor thing, I feel like he's came out with a point that he wants to make about the fans for some reason. Something's obviously been bubbling on him for a couple of weeks now, which I think is still uncalled for. And the words that he used, I think, was, Franny, your man Kevin might hate me for this one, but I think these comments that he came out with was actually quite disrespectful and quite shite to the fans. And I'll delve into it a wee bit more in a second. So if you split the two out of it, I don't see where the Taylor stuff came from at all, other than he's wanting just to add more fuel to the fire that's burning in his belly of whatever he wants to get off his chest. But even whatever he is trying to get off his chest about the fans moaning, I don't think the fans have been that bad over the last month or so. Everybody knows that he's openly admitting in the press conferences that, he's rotating the players around, that the team's not pinging on all sides, we're not firing on all cylinders, and we all kind of get that. But at the same time, we're Celtic fans, we're football fans. If we're not being entertained, what other way do football fans have to express that they're not happy, apart from some jeers or boos at points where they feel like the football's not up to scratch? What we're going to do, sit down and write a petition and hand it into the administrator at the front door as we leave Celtic Park? No, we're going to just make some noise. And if Brendan Rodgers and the players can't handle that in this day and age, then they need to ask more questions about the the mentality of the management and the playing staff. And I make that point because I think it's very disrespectful the way that Brendan Rodgers came out and basically said that Celtic fans basically don't understand football if you can't appreciate that we have to pass it around the back. I'm sorry. I've been watching football for 35, 38 years now. I understand what football is, and I understand when I'm happy with what I'm seeing on the pitch, and I understand when I'm not happy. I'm going to express that I'm not happy at times. Now, as for his point, sorry, I'm labouring on a wee bit, Franny. I know you're itching to get in as well.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Crack on.
But his comments about, we can't be 3-0, 4-0 up after 20 minutes. Nobody's expecting that. But we've all seen these backward passing games many times in the last few weeks, many times over the numbers of years. And Brendan Rodgers, his first stint under Neil Lennon, under Gordon Strachan, under Mowbray to some degree, although he tried his best to be attacking, under any other manager you can name in the last century. This happens. Fans are unhappy with it, so stop doing it. And what gets on fans' backs is that we know that we're playing against teams who are going to park the bus 2 banks of 5. We know that's going to happen. That happens 98% of the time in domestic football for Celtic. Yet a lot of the time we do come out the traps flying, and we do have high intensity. We do run at them. We do make space off the ball, and we do open ourselves up to attacking plays. But we've seen this game play out so many times where after 20 minutes, we're not doing any of that, and we're more, Brendan Rodgers' term this time around is, refocusing the attack. 6 years ago, whenever it was when he was here last time, his go-to phrases was, recycling possession. It's the same shit. At the end of the day, you're passing the ball around the back and you're not making any penetrating movements or passes forward. That's what's annoying the fans. We're not expecting 3-0, 4-0 up at 20 minutes. I'm not even expecting 1-0 at 20 minutes. It would be nice, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting we win the game playing good football. But we're not playing good football in those 20 minutes. And if those 20 minutes pan out up until the 75th, 80th minute, we all know what Celtic end up doing. All of a sudden, we find tempo and intensity, and we shit the bed thinking, oh, fuck, it's 0-0. We're going to have to try and sneak a goal here, so we just throw everything at it. Why can't we throw everything at it for the first 20 minutes? Get that goal, and then ease off a little bit and conserve that energy. And even when I say that, I'm going to throw that in the bin as well, because he's turned around every single game and made 3 or 4 changes because he's resting players. He's talked about a little bit of fatigue cutting down, but apparently we don't talk about that. We do talk about it. We allow it. We accept it. We know it's busy in December and January, but he's refreshing the team constantly, and that's why we're not seeing the intensity and the performances that we're used to at the start of the season. Most fans understand that. We're still not happy when we see no effort, and that's what we had on Thursday. No effort, and not one player got a pass mark on Thursday. Not one of them, Greg Taylor included. But you know who got a pass mark yesterday? Every single player. Greg Taylor included. Every single player played good yesterday. Not our best, but we all played good. We made amends for the dip the other night. We won 3-0, and the fans are generally happy, which brings me into the Greg Taylor point, and I'll wrap it up for you. Where's the disrespect from fans singing that song? Where's the disrespect from fans singing that song because they admire and would like a new player, and that's the play they brought? Again, how else do we express our feelings that yes, the rumours are there, and yes, that's the player we want, bring him back in? How else are we going to express that? Again, writing nice polite notes on fucking Valentine's Day cards and hoping it fucking hits the mark with fucking Peter Lawler. Get a rest. But where's the disrespect in that compared to, we've obviously got recruitment teams. We've literally hired staff and paying staff to go and recruit players for all positions on the park. So hiring a recruitment manager and signing new players, is that disrespectful to every single player in the squad? Of course it's not. It's just football. You want to improve. Taylor doesn't want to be here. And I say that quite candidly. Obviously, putting words in his mouth, but he's not signed a new deal. He's into the last 6 months. He can go sign a pre-contract with Dynamo Zagreb, shall we say, seeing how he's linked with them. Nobody talks about that disrespect. He's not coming to the table and negotiating a new deal. He could have settled this whole thing 3-4 months ago, signed a new deal. He would have been the first choice left back for next season. Many of us wouldn't be overly chuffed, but we'd accept it. I don't see, there's a bit of hypocrisy there. Fans can't sing for one player to sign, but the manager's allowed to go literally sign somebody to replace him. Literally must be, Brendan Rodgers must be in conversation with Kieran Tierney assuming that rumour is really far down the line as we expect is, he must be in talks with Kieran Tierney. Is that not disrespectful to Greg Taylor to be in talks with Kieran Tierney?
I'm with you. McGinty, the theories that I've been seeing and reading have been wild. Like, to be fair, Paul McCune comes in. Is this Rodgers trying to work his ticket out? Wouldn't surprise me. Talking about it on the Celtic State of Mind earlier. I mean, there's a lot of people with different opinions, and rightly so. Your man comes in. I think Brendan Rodgers, to say people that don't know anything about football digging at us, but he has a left back, well, the majority would agree over the last 5 years is good enough. But the boy from Barca puts a boy from Barca on the bench. It's madness. And Paul McCune again. Fans who pay money can sing whatever they want. Just excited because KT may be coming home. And Franny, see, to be fair, I agree with all this. If I'm a supporter and I'm paying my hard-earned money every week to go and see Celtic play, and I'm a wee bit annoyed at the performance, I'm going to be moaning and groaning a bit. We done it on the first stage. I mean, you have a wee moan to yourself and you're like, what's going on here? And then you just move on. I mean, it's like fans are entitled to show their frustration. They can show their adulation. I thought it was quite... I don't know about the remark that he said that we don't need the fan support when we're 3 or 4-0 up. What's that meant to mean? Do you know what I mean? They only want the fans supporting you when you're making backward passes and showing the appreciation for you changing the different points of attack. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Greg Taylor situation, he even alluded to himself that he wants a strong squad. So surely it's exciting that KT might be coming back to Parkhead, and the negotiations seem to be far down the line, and it's the Celtic support have clung to that, and they're excited about that, and they're going to sing for him to come home, essentially, where he started his career through the academy before he moved to Arsenal for a club record transfer at that time. So there's a lot of different things for the fans to be excited about. I just thought it was needless. It didn't need to be brought up. He done it of his own accord. The media didn't prompt him, like they usually do.
And sure usually at that time... about Kieran Tierney, but...
He was asked about Kieran Tierney, but then
I'm not going to ask him talk about an Arsenal player.
Yeah, but then he went into this whole...
He was prompted. He was prompted.
He wasn't prompted. Kieran Tierney, but then he went into this whole side mission about making it about the support, saying we can't be frustrated, basically. And it's like, you know, I don't know. Franny, hit me up. What are you thinking here?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm with Brendan Rodgers on this one. But what I will say is both sides can be right, if that makes sense. Like, the fans are right to have a go if they feel they wish. Like you say, they pay their hard-earned money. As long as it's not been disrespectful, and I'm not in terms meaning that singing the Kieran Tierney song, I just mean as a general statement, as long as they're not moaning for the sake of, like, backwards passes, there's a reason there will be backwards passes. I think we're all getting hung up in Postecoglou moaning one day. Well, thought he was a messiah because we caught him on telly moaning about a backwards pass. So it seems like this mad phenomenon that you can't pass backwards in football now. But obviously that is part of Brendan Rodgers' style, is ball retention. And he did explain the reason sometimes he played it backwards as to change the sort of attack. So I think both fans can get frustrated on certain performances, but Brendan Rodgers is well within his right to defend himself. He can't, like, we can't sit there and say,
but defend himself from what, Franny? He wasn't attacked. He wasn't personally attacked.
Well, if the fans are moaning and groaning at the park, who they're moaning at? He feels that's yes, and he is the manager of that team. So the players aren't got to come out and have a go at the fans. You've only got the manager to kind of either defend the team or defend the fans. And I think a lot of the frustration maybe for the fans and for Brendan Rodgers maybe comes for the Rangers game, where he knows and Celtic fans know we never turned up that day, and there's maybe a bit of disappointment in him about that performance. And then he's obviously that spilled over to his post-match interview. They say, I don't think he needs to necessarily say it, but equally what I will defend him and say, because I do believe both can be right. Like, I might, to an extent, I agree with him sticking up for defending the style of play and the backwards passing. I don't think he really need, like, the Kieran Tierney stuff and Greg Taylor stuff is a wee bit. I don't necessarily agree with him there, but again, both can be right. I can disagree with him, but also I can agree with why he done it and what he done. Because at the end of the day, he's got to defend his players, and I think that's what he was doing with moaning about the fans. Now, these fans have obviously moaned and groaned. They can't expect Brendan Rodgers not to have a pot back. You cannot live in a world where you have an opinion and no want somebody to, or expect everybody to agree with it. If we do things like this, like a lot of the fans probably weren't happy the way we were playing. Brendan Rodgers maybe was happy the way we were playing, so he's just getting his defending himself at the end of the day. And what was I going to say? I also think Brendan Rodgers, like not just Brendan Rodgers, but I think sports athletes, sports people in general, they didn't like criticism. You'll never hear anybody complaining, like any sports athlete complaining when they're all getting praise. But nobody really like any walk of life, nobody really likes criticism, and you will maybe defend yourself in the first instance. So I have no issue with Brendan Rodgers defending his team, defending the style of playing, the backwards passing. Whether you agree with it or no, that's your prerogative. It's up to you. Again, fans can they can vent their displeasure, they can support the team, and however they feel is more beneficial. I wouldn't try and take that away from any fan, because at the end of the day, you're emotional, you go to the game, you didn't want it to, you would rather it be raw emotion and things like that. I just didn't necessarily, when I used to say I didn't really agree with getting on teams' back. I don't see how that is beneficial. As for the Kieran Tierney and being disrespectful, I think that's maybe just, again, I think that's just maybe just spilled over for Brendan Rodgers maybe being a wee bit annoyed at some of the fan base moaning at the end of the day at the game. I don't think it's disrespectful. But as I say, I think Brendan Rodgers is right to come out and defend Greg Taylor. He's got to defend. He's got to defend his team. We can't. We would all be criticising Brendan Rodgers if he came out and chucked Greg Taylor under the bus and said, "Oh, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think we need better. We need this. We need that. Greg Taylor's just no got a day for me." If he chucked him under the bus, we would be going nuts. So we can't have it both ways. We can't moan when he defends a player and moan if he chucks a player under the bus.
But Franny, he didn't need to defend Greg Taylor. This is what I'm trying to say.
He's asked about Kieran Tierney.
Yeah,
I think naturally his answer's probably going to flow into that, because you're not getting asked about Kieran Tierney because of Kyogo. You're getting asked because of Greg Taylor. Let's not be silly about this. And then see the folk that are also saying, "Oh, we sing the Henrik Larsson song, we sing about Willie Maley and all that." It's just fucking nonsense just to get a point across. It's absolutely bullshit. The Celtic sympathy's got about five or six players in it, and you're going, "Oh, but who's that been disrespectfully?" That's just been fucking petty in my eyes, and fucking nonsense.
I feel like Franny's personally digging me out there because I posted that in the group chat.
Did you? I'll be honest, I never noticed, but if you did, it's fucking nonsense, mate. Because I mean,
no, I'll take it because this literally was what you said. It was purely to make a daft point of how stupid it is on both sides. Because, I don't think he kind of had to go into it as much as he did about Kieran Tierney and Greg Taylor. But I agree with Brendan Rodgers defending his team and players. You can disagree. Both can be right. Like, you can disagree with it, but equally, I believe you can agree with Brendan Rodgers. For me, it's all getting blown out of proportion, I think. I would agree with that, Franny, as well, to a very large degree. It's an open debate, surely, for everybody, players, manager, fans. We should be open and talkative. But if we're going to allow Brendan Rodgers to be able to say whatever he wants and get whatever's on his chest out, which I fully agree with, then he has to be fine with the fans doing the exact same. And as I said earlier, what other way do fans generally have to do it? I said earlier, though, if it was, kickoff was pass the ball back to Carter Vickers passes it to Schmeichel, who then passes it 3-4 times around the back line, and that's how we kick off, and we start booing it from there. I think everybody would be understandable.
That's my point, by the way.
We're not doing that. We're playing 20 minutes, and then the game falls into this recycling of possession around the back, and we don't see the runs get made. We don't see the forward passes get made. And I get sometimes as well, especially in the last few games, there's maybe some slack passes coming from some of the people at the back. Then again, stop doing that and try and make the forward runs and forward passes and just kind of skip out the weak point of the team and stop trying to play it run at the weak point.
See as well, right? Again, different opinions. The chat has different opinions. And this is a thing I've heard. After he'd done, one of our own just comes in at the right time with this kind of statement. Bigger issue is the spoiled entitlement of a section of our support who's known nothing but success. You're on the players' back at the minute. We've not killed the game after 10 minutes. Like, love you, Tony, but this is the things that I disagree with, right? Entitlement and all this pish, blah, blah, blah. I was born in 94, probably can only start remembering Celtic from Martin O'Leary's end of his first season coming into his second season. I never really since then I've known success and I've known celebrations and known good times. But also some bad times in there. I mean, Rangers won a few trophies, a few leagues when they were alive, and obviously they moved into a different entity. But putting that aside, entitlement, frustration, people, this is what you said, Franny, people can have different opinions, but it shouldn't mean that you're entitled because you think one way. If the team's not playing quick enough and you go, fuck's sake, Greg Taylor, stop pass the back of Schmeichel.
Element within the fan base, but I'm not
counting who's the entitled element?
I hate the folk that, well, folk that expect us, folk that there is genuine fans that expect us to be blown away. I would put my dad in that category. That I think we should be winning after about 3-4-0. Brendan Rodgers described my dad perfectly. My dad moans and groans if we're no 3-0 up after 30 minutes. I think there is a level of entitlement within our fan base that I don't agree that obviously you get the entitlement tag maybe gets chucked at you unfairly, Stephen. I think some folk get labelled entitled simply because when they were born, which is, it's not your fault you were born when you were born. I must throw my dad under the bus and then folk will moan about me. So Brendan Rodgers can't win.
But surely the entitlement tag, it's, as you say, you can't blame people for when they were born and when they started.
That's where I'll defend guys like Stephen. I hate that folk that were maybe born when all we've done is won and gone, you're entitled because all you know is success. Can't help when you were born.
Of course not, but then this casual throwing around, you're just entitled sort of thing, you know, as easy as that is for some people to throw that, it's also easy for some of us to throw out, well, you're just a happy clapper and you just clap along to whatever Celtic do, no matter how good or bad it is. But regardless of either side, is the entitlement thing, generically speaking, no one of those kind of like cliches, like it's a cliche for a reason, we're entitled for a reason. You can't have 24 or 25 years of this level of success domestically and then be bitching and moaning because the fans who have watched us for 20 plus years have came to expect a level of dominance and a level of football, a style of football, a quality of football and a quality performance. And when they don't get it on now, which, you know, if you take the last 6 weeks, it's going on quite a long time now of this rotation of players and lackluster performances. We're still getting the results, but the performances aren't great. Can we really moan about fans who are apparently entitled because they're not happy seeing what they're seeing when all they've known, as we said, is 20 years? That level of entitlement has been gifted to us because the club has been this successful. The club can't have it both ways either. The club can't be this successful and think that when the standards drop that they get away with it because, I dare say, it could be 1993 again, or, you know, it could be Rangers 2012. We don't want to go that way. Why does it always have to come back to these points? Why can we not just be Celtic fans who are used to a level of success and a level of dominance in the domestic scene and expect that dominance and level to be fairly consistent? And one or two games that the performances drop, one or two games where the performances drop, we won't bother too much about it. But 6 weeks now, 6 weeks, at a point where we've been changing the players to try and keep it fresh, yet it doesn't look fresh, really, does it at all, especially when you come to Thursday night's game. And even Thursday night's game, we're that far ahead in the league. Most fans are what off a duck's back sort of thing. Of course, you're not happy with it, but we're kind of like, okay, league still won anyway.
Yeah,
I
thought
agree. I think
Franny was going to say.
Sorry, I don't was to serious, but like I agree the entitlement thing can be chucked a wee bit harshly. I think there is, as I say, my dad's one of the perfect examples. I think he shows a level of entitlement just simply because he expects us to be winning 3-0 after 20 minutes, half an hour. And he'd sub the whole team after that if we weren't. That for me is entitlement. I would never be snobby and moan at claim somebody doesn't know football and things like that. I think that's a wee bit harsh things to say.
Good question coming here, Franny. Is Brendan not the most entitled one here?
Potentially, aye. And I think, like, as I say, it's for me, I don't necessarily agree with Brendan Rodgers on the Greg Taylor comments. But I will defend him and say he's well entitled to defend his players. And I'm with him 100% on defending the team and the style of play. If he's happy with that, then that's fine. I put my full trust in him. I'm not saying other fans can have to just jump on board that. If you show your displeasure, especially fans that pay their money and go and watch it, as long as you're not breaking the rules or whatever or being derogatory, then fair enough. Voice your opinion because, like Anthony said, you're not. We're not going to get a sit-down meeting with Brendan Rodgers at the end of the day. So being at the game is maybe the only way you get to vent your frustrations, if you like. Personally, I just don't see how getting on the players' back and venting frustration helps the team. But others may think that does. That's fair enough. As long as you can logically explain that, fair enough. I think what the days after. I just think what the days after this comment have showed that there is a good chunk of the fan base that pretended they'd accepted Brendan Rodgers back and they'd accepted that he fucked off to Leicester halfway through the season. And I think that is the true colours of some fans coming out that hadn't really accepted him back. They're desperate to jump on his back for anything.
Do you think that's the case now? Do you think, obviously, I was going to actually come on to that, so good wee segue. Do you think that through all the kind of mist and all now, but we've won a league under him, a double, now we're moving into this season, potentially a treble on the horizon, is there, like, this is fair enough, is there some elements that are still looking for that wee excuse to pick at him and be like, who do you think you are? Telling us what to do type stuff? And
I think
that's
obviously,
what's coming out.
because he's obviously used the word disrespect to Greg Taylor, folk are then jumping on that saying, well, what did you show the Celtic fan base disrespect by leaving halfway through a season? I think what it's shown within the fan base that there is still that resentment, maybe not tons, but there's still a bit of resentment within some of the fan base towards what he done, and they'll never fully accept him back.
What about you, McGinty, on that one?
I can 100% see that there will be elements, and I'm not saying this is what Fanny's saying, but we can't blanket say that anybody who's going against Brendan Rodgers after the post-match stuff yesterday is hiding true feelings sort of thing. I'll be one of these people to happily admit that I wasn't a big fan of bringing Rodgers back. I wanted the Spanish boy, Areola.
Was it Bournemouth?
I wanted him at the time. But once Rodgers was in the door and stuff, we had the discussions on the podcast. I was happy enough to have Rodgers in. We had the first 6 months of last season, then that wasn't too great. Rodgers even admits that in his conference yesterday. And then we had a fantastic second half of the season and a great first half of this season. And it's not just because it's nice fancy football that I've suddenly accepted him. It's because he's shown that for me, it's because he actually showed that he's willing to adapt from his first time. He started playing more intensive football, more attacking football, rather than the since I were having the top about it, the backwards passing that he ended his first stint with. He had accepted that Greg Taylor, of all players again, wasn't a great left back, but he was more suited under the Ange at the inverted stuff. So he's adapted his own system to allow Taylor to do that, because that gets the best out of Taylor and the best out of the left back situation we currently find ourselves in. So for me, Rodgers won me over with that kind of stuff more than anything else. And at this point, I will, as I've already wasted half an hour of this podcast myself, a lot about it. Also, I'm not happy with Rodgers and his outbursts yesterday. but I don't want him sacked. I don't want him to leave. I don't want him. I hope to God he's not trying to work his ticket. I don't believe he is. So again, Franny,
well, people are saying there's
blanket throw isn't the case. Like, not all fans are going to be waiting for this moment to got you, Rodgers. We knew you're. Nah, I think there's definitely elements of support of 100% like that, Franny. But I don't think it's a blanket. I don't think it's a large portion of fans.
No. I think there is a section of the fan base that I think their true colours are coming out in the sense that they maybe were saying openly that they were happy that Brendan Rodgers was back, but I'm now showing that there is still that wee resentment towards him.
Yeah, well, there's 100% there will be.
I think it'll be interesting. Celtic. Fuck off, Ronnie. no comment. I think it'll be interesting. When the next for the home game, I think it's Thursday again against Dundee United, isn't it?
Wednesday against Dundee United.
Wednesday, sorry.
I think unfortunately you might hear the Kieran Tierney song a wee bit more.
Yeah, and I hope I don't see any banners by the Green Brigade aiming something towards Rodgers or something. I hope I don't see that. But just before we move on from that and McGinty's way for a wee tour of his house, I'll start with yourself, Franny. Where does it leave us with this whole Kieran Tierney, Greg Taylor kind of saga? I mean, for me, looking, I heard a caller on the Super Scoreboard today talking about that he doesn't think KT's coming back because Rodgers was so dismissive and didn't really want to comment or didn't really want to commit to anything or even say, no way, sometimes you give a wee hint and be like, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. There was nothing of that nature when he was talking about Kieran Tierney. Obviously, he's really keen on Greg Taylor. I know that baffled me there. And he wants to get him tied down on the contract. But is KT coming in this month for summer or is he not coming in? Because, again, how dismissive Rodgers was. He looked a bit like a wee bit of an idiot if he comes in the door this month. Like,
well, I mean, it's a valid point of the fact that he never gave the sort of media or stereotypical line of. I mean, he started by saying, "I'm not wanting to talk about a national player," before he went on his wee defence of Greg Taylor. But he never gave the whole sort of stereotype. We'll maybe see what happened. Yeah, it's maybe it's something we're exploring and stuff, and maybe that's because the deal's not as far along. If the deal is happening, it's maybe not as far along as we're being led to believe it is. Maybe they simply want to be respectful towards Arsenal. Maybe Arsenal are, if rumours are to believe, there's other offers on the table for down south for Tierney. By all accounts, what you read online anyway, without trying to claim being the know, he's rejecting these offers. But maybe there's money involved in that that Celtic are offering, and maybe it's just going to be. It might turn into a wee bit a saga, I feel like, in the sense that we might have to play the long game where we're sort of pulling at the heartstrings of Kieran Tierney and asking him to, similar to what we've done with Adam Ida, and tell him to dig his heels in a bit, and the deal will happen, but you might just need to dig your heels in for a couple of weeks until Arsenal realise you only want to come to Celtic. So there maybe is a bit of that. There just seems to be too much in the rumours, too many stories. I mean, Fabrizio Romano doesn't usually tweet things if there's no something in it.
3 times.
And he's done it twice, and he's spoke about it being in negotiations. So for me, that's kind of as concrete as you need to show that we're definitely interested and there is discussions there. I do believe if we have to get Kieran Tierney, we will get him in this January. Whether that be a loan deal, but we pay a nominal loan fee because then we'll sign him on a pre-contract. I just think there's too much in it for it not to happen. But I think obviously just with the Brendan Rodgers, just again going back to the Greg Taylor one, he's got to be careful in case that deal doesn't happen. He still needs to call on Greg Taylor, so he can't totally chuck him under the bus, I feel like. So he's kind of got to keep him on side, and that's probably another reason why he's defending him. But I do think the Kieran Tierney deal will happen. The one thing that would make me think it's not going to happen, Greg Taylor, against papers, was in the paper saying he wants to stay at Celtic. It's just contract talks aren't happening just now. If Greg Taylor were to sign, I'm not 100% sure we would get Kieran Tierney in as well. And that was, I think it was, I kind of spoke about it in the sense that Greg Taylor's kind of an experienced player within the team, and he might not necessarily want to sign up to the terms of being number 2 now when he can rightly look at his trophy haul and say, look, I've helped you achieve all this, and this is what you are offering me up as a deal is a new contract, but I'm going to play second fiddle to Kieran Tierney. Now, I think we'll all kind of accept and maybe agree that I think the number 2 left back's probably got to play 20 plus games a season, because I think we'd have to manage Kieran Tierney with his injuries. We don't know. He could come in and could play 50, 60 games. But recent history would tell you he's not going to do that. So Greg Taylor might be happy to sign up for the terms. I would be more than happy with that being our 2 options. But that, for me, that's, if Greg Taylor re-signs, I'm not saying we won't go and buy another left back, but I'm not 100% sure we'd go and get Kieran Tierney off the back of that. But I just think there's been too many stories, and as I say, Fabrizio Romano doesn't usually tweet something if there's nothing in it. I think it'll happen, Stephen, but I don't think it's maybe as imminent as your ITK accounts on Twitter and all that would pretend to know and stuff.
I think it was over the weekend he was signing on the dotted line on a Saturday or something like that.
He was on the fucking bench at Brighton.
for
See, that's
Arsenal,
what I mean. When he's in the no account saying now he'll be up, he's in for signing talks, and you see him on the bench and that, and you're like, aye, sign what's using me. Just
I know.
You didn't know.
You're throwing up shit at the wall, something sticks.
Aye.
Your man comes in. Taylor can't be re-signed because it's accepting mediocrity, especially if KT comes in. Because when he gets injured, we don't have a good enough left back. Thank Greg. Thank Greg.
You're not going to get 2 Kieran Tierneys, are you? Let's be honest.
No, you're not. You're not. And see, to be fair, like
just accept the drop off. Whether that be Kieran Tierney, whether that be Greg Taylor, whether that be Vi, whether it be somebody else, the drop off will be noticeable. Because on his day, if we can get him back to that, Kieran Tierney is world class.
Well, see, to be fair, the 2 games he'll play every season, they'll be immense, and then you'll have Greg Taylor and the rest of it, you know what I mean? But I've been pretty consistent. Look, I love Kieran Tierney for what he done, but I don't necessarily want him back. Shock everybody, give me grief, whatever. I've outlined the reasons why in previous podcasts. But McGinty, where do you think it leaves the Greg Taylor, Kieran Tierney situation? But as Franny said, the deal might not be as clear cut as we all think it is, and Rodgers is being dismissive because maybe he doesn't want us all getting the hopes up and he doesn't come in, or maybe there's no story at all and it's not a shit. It's like Franny says, who knows what's going on? It's an easy link to make. Do you think he's coming back, or what does it set with you at the moment? Yeah,
100% he's coming back to me. But I think Franny's hitting the nail on the head to some degree with there might be other offers. But if Tierney's the one knocking back the other offers, I think that further emphasises that he's got his mind made up in Celtic. The problem we have with it being January is that Arsenal have no reason to loan him to Celtic. You know, what is he on, about 80 grand, 100 grand a week? Celtic can't afford that. 100% we can't afford that. We can maybe stretch to 40, but if we start paying 40 grand just now, we have to pay him 40 grand come the summertime. And that's probably more than we really want to. It's going to be more around with 30, 35, realistically speaking. And then I think Kieran Tierney is more than happy to accept that, because he knows what Celtic is. He knows what our finances are. He knows what the wage cap structure is at the club. He's not under any, disillusionment that he's going to come in here and be top earner or, breaking that cap or anything. He's not under any of those illusions. But Arsenal have no reason to loan him to us if we're not going to at least cover 100% of his wage, especially if they're getting offers from other clubs down south who are maybe even going to throw, $5 million to get him in now before the end of his deal and have him for 6 months. Because Kieran Tierney to, let's say, I don't know, in Everton or West Ham, Kieran Tierney does them wonders and helps their season. So $5 million to them for 6 months and then get him on a pre-contract, that's good business for some of those teams down south. But if Kieran Tierney is the one rejecting those offers, that just further emphasises to me that he's going to come back to Celtic. It just has to be at summertime, because there's literally zero reason for Arsenal to entertain Celtic for a loan deal to then just, them still paying the large majority of his salary to then have him go on a pre-contract and they get nothing out of it. There's no reason for Arsenal to deal with that. Which is where I think Franny's hitting the nail on the head when it comes to the Greg Taylor stuff and the weird defending of Greg Taylor in disrespect. Perhaps it is just Brendan Rodgers' weird way to try and get Taylor to be at his best and not to be disheartened by the talk of Kieran Tierney or disheartened by the fact that Kieran Tierney signing on a pre-contract / gentleman's agreement means that Taylor is having that contract deal removed from the table. And maybe Taylor now knows that he's going to have to leave. So that would leave Taylor for the next 6 months in a really weird position at Celtic, knowing that deal's never going to happen, knowing that he is walking out. So maybe it is a weird way of Rodgers trying to smooth things over, because at some point in the last week, things really ramped up with the Tierney rumours. And then all of a sudden, we're now, we're on the 6th of January, all of a sudden it's stopped. And I don't think that's because it's not happening. I think that's because we've realised Arsenal aren't going to deal with us in this situation. Keep in mind, Arsenal bought him from us for 25 million. Then they've given us enough money for this guy. They don't need to entertain anything else that benefits us and, doesn't benefit them in any sort of way. So I think you're quite right there, Franny. I think that's probably more realistic where this whole saga's kind of spun from. But as I said last week, I think it was on the podcast, I'd be happy for Greg Taylor to be the backup to Kieran Tierney. I don't think that drop-off is too disastrous, because Taylor's proven for a good 3-4 years now that he is capable. He is the weakest link, along with Liam Scales. That left side of defence is the weakest link. But if you've got Tierney covering the majority of games and Taylor covering a good, large chunk of the minority of games, then I think that drop-off is probably the best drop-off you can have from somebody who with such experience and leadership in the squad to come in for Kieran Tierney. I don't think that's a terrible thing, but I just don't see it, as I said the other week on the podcast, I just don't see it financially. Us paying 30k to Taylor and 35k to Kearney is way too much money for a first choice backup. I think it makes more sense that it's somebody of the calibre or thereabouts of Alex Valle who would be more likely to be on 12 to 15k. And you're getting a selling value out of that in a couple of years' time. Because if Kieran Tierney comes in now at 27, 28, he's here for the rest of his career. Near enough. So there's no sell-on again to Tierney, but there's sell-on to a backup who's going to play all those games, as far as says, 20, 30 games a season, and you've got value in it. You don't have value in Taylor. No offence to him. That's no disrespect. That's actually because he's too good to be backup. That you wouldn't get the value sort of thing.
See, obviously, I'd like to kind of just come back at you a wee bit there, Anthony, in the sense, like, I know the rumour, like, there is rumours that Greg Taylor's asking for like 30, 35, and personally, I don't see us doing that if we bring Kieran Tierney in, he's going to be on top dollar as well. I don't see us doing that for two left backs, especially one being a second choice. But do you think us as fans, it's no really, it shouldn't be our concern what we're paying wages wise. We shouldn't be looking at Avaye just because it's cheaper. We sit and moan about saying we want Celtic to spend more money. I mean, obviously we're not wanting to aimlessly spunk money up. Like, I know we've got cash reserves and God knows how many millions in the bank and stuff. So some will argue 35 grand, or say combined 70, maybe 80 grand combined for two left backs. That's going to take a wee while to make a dent in that kind of money, especially if you're qualifying from the Champions League regularly. But you think maybe us as a fan base are guilty just caring too much about what we're paying wages when it's not really a problem at the end of the day, what guys are getting paid. We shouldn't really be of that thought process going, well, the number 2 is on 35 grand a week. Who cares? Shouldn't it matter? But I agree that we're probably not going to do that. I just think as a fan base, that's not really our problem to really be worried about.
I get where you are, but I kind of want to disagree with you, not just to be argumentative, but because I feel like we should get to care about that, because we've went through so many years, decades now, where we have sort of changed ourselves. We have scrimped around and we've refused to offer a few extra $100,000 to get guys like John McGinnon or even going back to Martin O'Neill's time. I think the story
But that's what I mean. Like,
was
it
one of
shouldn't
those
be honest to go,
we didn't
well,
go
we
up 500
didn't push
grand.
it. Just
But
pay,
we
like,
can, because we are on the way, so we should push it when we can. But at the same time,
I agree.
I fully accept that we can't be reckless. And I think it would be reckless paying what is, in essence, two first-team, highly paid first-team players to be first choice and second choice left back. I think that's I don't think that fits the model of the club and the structure.
No, I agree.
I just don't think sense.
I do.
But
I do agree with what you're saying.
See if we weirdly were to go down the route of, what does it matter to the fans if it's 70,000 between the pair of them? That makes me then think, well, why not go sign somebody who's going to get 60 grand and actually have a 60 grand player starting who's going to be better than both of them? If you're going to be willing to spend that money, why wouldn't you?
I agree. I just think I think us as a fan base of maybe it is a wee bit of conditioning where we worry too much about wages, and it's like, well, we want Celtic to spend money, but then equally we're moaning if sort of a stockpile, wouldn't necessarily be stockpiling, but if we're paying guys top dollar, we're like, oh, what are we doing here?
It's because we're not used to it.
It's almost like we're using that trophy, using the money as a wee trophy, and if it dwindles away, we're going to we've not got that much.
Keeping it warm in the vault at Celtic Park, Lowell and Desmond, nobody does around it all the time.
I do agree with what Anthony says. We're not going to be probably paying 35 grand for Greg Taylor to essentially be the number 2 choice. But I do think as a fan base, it's no problem to worry about that.
No, I'd say at the end of the day,
yeah,
that's what we end up paying. As I said a minute back ago, the drop off between Tierney and Greg Taylor, if that is the first choice, second choice, at the end of the day, if that's what we end up paying to have that level of backup, that's actually on the pitch very, very good. But financially, it doesn't make much sense to me, and that's trying to make myself understand why it's not going to happen from the club's perspective. I think it would be a bit weird. But absolutely, I'd rather have that level of experience and that level of quality straight off the bat. But I also appreciate a younger backup in the sense of value, which I know he's not of the right caliber just yet. But if you had value sign a permanent deal, and he's 5-year deal and he's here for 2 to 3 seasons, the player that value is going to be in 2 years is going to be so much better than the player that he is just now. The same way that Pat Paulo Bernardo, the same way that Jota was better, the same way everybody gets better in Celtic over a couple of years. If you've got that, that raw talent that can be developed under a guy like Rodgers, you're going to get a better player out of value. The unfortunate thing is value would then be sold and we'd be starting again looking for a backup, but that's the way football is, isn't it?
Shall we end on the game on a positive note? The game that's been kind of put to the side, obviously, after the comments after the match from Rodgers and that. But look, Franny, a 3-0 victory. To go 13 points clear against St Mirren. A double from Kuhn and a fantastic header from Trusty, who was back in the side. I mean, what was your overall thoughts on it? That was a wee bit slow and laboured at times, but we got the job done, and the gap has been extended again.
It wasn't vintage, but it was very, very, very hassle-free. We were control for the majority of the game. Obviously, St Mirren did create a couple of chances. They are a decent enough team with a bit of pace up top. So I think, obviously, off the back of the Rangers game, maybe we were expecting a better performance, if you like. Moria, it was never going to be a statement win, if you like, because we were expected to beat St Mirren at home. But we won in very comfortable fashion. Performance probably could have been better. I think, if I'm being honest, it probably could have been better. There was good play within that. I mean, the first goal, really good play for McCowan, and then a good ball for Maeda, and good finish for Kuhn. So there was good football within the game. It just wasn't 90 minutes. And I don't know if it's maybe the scoreline earlier on in the day maybe played a wee factor in that, because I think maybe some of the fan base were coming angry, annoyed at the performance for Thursday. Then Rangers go and drop points, and it's almost like, well, what we're meant to do here? What we're meant to do? because we're want to come here annoyed, but we're probably going to extend the lead here. And maybe the fact that fed on the players and their performance level wasn't maybe where them and Rodgers hoped it would be. But nah, I think we've all said that we are managing our way through. It seems like we're playing a game every 3-4 days now, so we're having to rotate the squad, and it generally seems to be in the middle of the part we're rotating it, and I think that plays into it maybe not being as fluent all the time. But very, very stress-free afternoon, as the scoreline suggested. Could have been better performance-wise. I think you should always try and be better, but the performance could have been better. But after Thursday, I think you'd have snapped your hands off for that game, the way it played out.
Aye. Especially the events before the game, like you said, Franny, as well, them dropping points and, also extending that lead, McGinty, and what Franny was saying, going on to Kuhn. Great first goal, good play by McKeown into Mieta, crossed the ball along the box, and Kuhn's there to finish it like a striker. And St Mirren couldn't handle him all day. He went in so many mazy runs, and he could have probably scored 2 or 3 more, but he's been excellent this season. Got his double. Again, another mazy run into the box. Skipped past a few, failed the angles. He did a wee back heel, head off the St Mirren player, and he finished it. Put your man Goggins on his arse and put it in the bottom corner, left side. So another good goal, probably the easiest goal he'll ever score in his career. But he's already equalled Felipe Ayala's best season in a Celtic top. And, again, we've spoken about him every week, but we rely on him so much at the moment. We're always attacking down his side, and he's the playmaker, the creator, the goal scorer. He's been amazing. You run out of things to say about him.
No, he's been absolutely fantastic this season, and long may it continue. There's a wee potential blip that we might have witnessed for a period there, especially against that lot on Thursday. But as I said earlier, nobody got a pass mark on Thursday, but they all got a pass mark yesterday for me. Kuhn and Maeda were really quite good for me yesterday. The runs they were both making, Maeda's put a few crosses in, he's kept them low. Some of them have ricocheted, almost got a goal out of the end of it, but it's ricocheted out and stuff like that, which it happens when it's a packed box. But even Maeda's looking a lot better in that sense. But yesterday, the pair of them were fantastic. I think Engels had a decent game, a solid game. His delivery from a set piece is insanely good. I get that sometimes he goes for the early ball, the low ball in sort of thing, and it doesn't go quite the way he wants to. But the actual cross on it is actually a good cross. It's just it's a low ball in that he's attempted and somebody's there. But I think he's crossing is absolutely fantastic. That effort that Adamida just put it by the post early on is a great ball on. I think it was actually for Kuhn's second goal, just before he got it. I think it was McKeown that put Kuhn through. But McKeown, he dashed through, I think 3 players, puts through Kuhn, who turns one of the players before having his shot saved. That then goes out to Callum McGregor, who whips the ball in.
Oh, was that McKeown? Was that McKeown that done that? I thought that was Kuhn.
I think it was McKeown. Kuhn was the one who took the shot. I think it was McKeown that played into him. But that's just Kuhn all over. He's a right winger, but he's 2 goals in other places. He's playing more like a striker. He's happy to come in and show for the ball in those areas and get his goals. Tap-ins or not, he's there for them. He's an absolute quality player. I generally hope we don't lose him this month or in the summer. I think we're realistically offering him a new deal to try and keep him that little bit longer, which is exactly what we should do. You've got a talent like this. The same with Jota. I mean, Jota, you can't argue with the money he was getting at Saudi Arabia. Nobody can begrudge him for that. But if Kuhn's not getting that level of attention, which I don't imagine he would be, if he's getting looked at by other big clubs, because of his age and because of what he's doing and how we're performing overall as a squad, I think you make an offer to Kuhn that says, look, we'll sell you. We're going to sell you. We're going to cash in at some point, but let's keep you here for another year. Let's make you happy for another year so you don't chase that move this summer. And offer him 30k as well, if that's what it needs to be to keep a player there. Because I can only imagine he must be on about 10 or 12. Most players would come in from his kind of background or that kind of ballpark. So double his salary and keep him happy for a little bit longer to keep him here without sniffing around too much. Or better yet, keep his agents happy so they don't try and sell him off for us.
What did you make, Franny, of another controversial Rodgers comment that saying Kuhn needs to toughen up? I think one of the reporters was saying he's got a bash in his nose, and he was just like, it happens, he needs to toughen up. And I was like, the fellow does score 2 goals, mate. Give him a bit of credit. Do you know what I mean?
I've got to say, I've not seen that comment, so I don't know the context of it, but I think there is a wee bit an element of truth that he does need to toughen up. Maybe in the sort of the bigger games, it sounds silly when you consider he scored in the cup final and obviously his display against Leipzig. But I think at times against bigger defenders, stronger defenders, it can struggle and he maybe comes short too often, maybe cuts inside. But I mean, I think you're proper, not you meaning, I just mean as a general statement. I think you're proper nitpicking if that's where we are. We couldn't right now. You just touched on it. We all waxed lyrical about Jota. Probably a lot of the fan base, myself probably included, would still, if it was one or the other was your options, I would probably still go towards Jota than now. I think Kuhn's well on his way. But I just think Jota had bigger moments in a Celtic jersey as we speak. But as we speak, he had bigger moments. Kuhn, certainly this season, has been absolutely frightening. So his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. He does. I know.
Christy, coming at you there.
I know. So I do think it would be. I'm assuming it was maybe just a throwaway comment for Brendan Rodgers. It was not like he's one talking about the fan base and defending Greg Taylor and things like that. Maybe it was a more jokingly comment. But I do think, personally, he could toughen up a wee bit.
I hope so.
I know. Get some free tickets.
Well, if you're watching,
Brendan, was again free tickets after tonight.
But I think it'd be serious nitpicking if that's where we are. We couldn't. I think it just shows you. It shows you how good he's performed. If that's where we are, and I think it's, as I say, us as a fan base, we there always seems to be something we can pick up on somebody, and it's instead of just enjoying the player and enjoy what he's doing, there seems to be something we want to pick up on a guy. And
it wasn't us that picked it up; it was Rodgers.
No,
Rodgers said it.
That's what I mean. It's just, and I think fans, like I've just felt, the strap fans will go, Ken, what? He's probably right a bit. He probably could toughen up a wee bit. I've just fell into the trap and try to, like you say, the guy's on about 20 odd goal contributions. And here I am saying I could toughen up a wee bit, but I've totally fell into what Rodgers said.
Could you imagine, like, they're sitting in the dressing room and no way to have the TVs on, and it goes to Rodgers' post-match interview, and they're all sitting there buzzing, and he's like, "What about Kuhn?" And Kuhn's watching that. And he needs to toughen up. You've got it. What do you mean? I've just scored 2 goals. Like, I know, banged them in.
Only got a bloodied nose because he got smashed in the face today.
Anyway, who knows? But just to touch upon quickly there, McGinty, you mentioned Arnie Engels. I think, well, obviously he was ill for the Sevco game, but barring that, before that, he had 2 man-of-the-match performances. I think he was excellent against St Mirren. And it's just good to see him slowly but surely building his way back into what we've seen the kind of first time around, the first 4 or 5 games, kind of running off adrenaline and things like that. But he's starting to find his feet. He's starting to pick up spaces on the edge of the box. He's starting to shoot more. He's starting to be more kind of finding space and looking for the ball and picking out players with great passes. And his assists are already up there, obviously, with his corner kicks and a few penalty kicks with goals and that. But I'm excited to see the second part of the season, what he can produce, because at the moment, the signs are looking good again.
Again, I agree, Stephen. Excuse me. Again, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I saw stats on Arnie Engels and his contributions and his minutes played and matches played. We all had the stat when he was signing that he's was he a 20-year-old with 50 games under his belt, and we all got excited for it. I think a lot of people probably did what I did and thought that was 50 games last season, and he was coming in like absolutely everything ready to hit the ground running. But it turns out that it was more like 18 games in 2 seasons ago than 32 games last season, so it's kind of like slowly built up over the 2 years. And his minutes for those 2 seasons were sitting about 1,400 ballpark figure. And the stat was about 2 games ago now, definitely before the Rangers game, that he's on 26 games so far this season, I think it is. But he's on like 1,600 minutes. So he's already played a lot more football in 5 or 6 months than he did in the 2 previous seasons. Each of those seasons, not combined, but each of those seasons. And he, his post-match interview a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and the one where Kai was passing the Man of the Match award, I think is the one where Kai does his assistants. And he makes the point, Arne Engels makes his own point there, that he didn't realise how much game time there was going to be played, how many minutes he's playing, and how regular the games are coming at this period. So he's acknowledging himself that there's a lot going on just now, and there's a lot of game time that he never said he wasn't ready for, but like acknowledged that it's a lot more than he's used to. So take that sentiment and take all the other sentiments that we've all came to know about new signings and new players. They take time sometimes. If it's not Nicholas Kuhn, where a weird freakish dentistry issue that dropped a couple of kilo off him and had his performances a bit shabby and at the end of last season, it's guys like Maeda who comes in mad electric kind of playing, but elements of his game are absolutely honking. He's been here 2.5, going on 3 seasons, and he's so much of a different player now. And we can contribute that to just learning the game of the team here, learning how teams play against us, but also to his own personal development under Brendan Rodgers. I think he's a much more composed player. I think he's more technically better than he was 2 years ago. His crossing is still woeful. He's not a winger traditionally, more than that inside forward striker, but he's playing the position so much better because he's got used to it and got used to this team and got used to the game in Scotland. You can throw similar things to guys like Samaras. He was honking at first. He was actually really good on loan, and then he went off the boil, and he slowly but surely became a cult hero at the club. You could run the list.
Legend,
many
players.
Nobody would say that, Franny. But even take Greg Taylor, who comes from Kilmarnock to Celtic. That's not a great culture shock at all. I mean, I know it's a bit weird down in Kilmarnock and Ayrshire, but that's not a great culture shock or change in scenery too much. But it still took him a season or 2 before he started to find his rhythm within the squad.
Still taking him a couple of seasons here, McGintley.
Still, but he's a hell of a lot better now than he was 4 years ago, trust me. These players sometimes take time. It can be 6 weeks, it can be 6 days, it can be 6 months. Hopefully not going to be 6 years, but I think when you spend £11 million on a guy like Arne Engels, who's chapping on the bit for the Belgian squad before he signed for us, and he's still making those inroads there, you pay what you get, and it's great potential and great talent that needs somewhat nurtured and somewhat, for the amount of game time that he's playing this season, managed through this. And he also needs to adapt to the style that we play and all the rest of it. So I think there's great things to come from it. I think he's had a decent first half of the season. I firmly believe he's going to kick on now and get better and better. Next season, definitely, though. I think you're going to see Arne Engels boss that midfield next season.
Yeah. I think it was the Celtic Way done an article with your man, the Derek Ray, commentator for the Bundesliga. And he was saying that Arne Engels would boss the league, and he actually said he didn't want to be disrespectful towards the SPFL because he thinks he's going to be that good. So hopefully that potential does come to fruition in the next couple of months and get into next season as well. But I mean, Franny, as you said, hassle-free. I mean, hassle-free as it could be. 3-0 victory. We're 13 points ahead. We're looking ahead to this week. We're playing Dundee United at home on Wednesday. Now, we could throw, for the shits and giggles, we could throw in the Dundee game here against Sevco. I mean, they're away form at the moment. 3 victories in 15. It's honking, like you said about Maeda's crossing, but they're not doing too good away from home. So potentially there could be more job points to take advantage of. Obviously, you don't want to tempt fate and all that, but get into this next round of fixtures against Dundee United. Are you confident for another hassle-free win? Any changes you would make? What would be your goal predictions, score predictions?
I think, I'm more confident. I know we dropped points against Dundee United recently up there, but I think at Parkhead it's the bigger park. Personally, I wouldn't make any changes, I would give that team another go to see if they can build on something. Just simply, I mean, I think the only ones that will be kind of up for debate is maybe McCowan. Maybe he'll drop out for Hatate, and maybe Kyle comes back in. But personally, I don't think McCowan deserves to be dropped out the team. Maybe even Bernardo could come in instead of Hatate. But I would keep providing everybody's fit and firing. I would certainly keep that team that played. There would be an argument for Kyle to come back in for Ida, but nah, I would stick with where we are. Unfortunately for Scales, I think he's got to miss out again. I just think it's where we are. He had a shocker against Rangers, and unfortunately, I think that's kind of gone against him a wee bit here, because he has been fantastic in the main. I just think I think when it comes to defence, you can get away with rotating other positions. I just think when it comes to defence, that are the central two in the middle, I think you need to try and build that partnership. Whether that be with Scales or Trusty, with CCV, you need to, I think Brendan Rodgers needs to pick one and hang his hat on one and accept the other one. Whether that be Trusty, say, look, right, we've got to try and work on you two, build that relationship, build that partnership. Then we'll know that Scales is an able deputy when needed. Because you look at the CCV and Starfelt partnership, that was fantastic. So I think good teams are built on a good central defensive partnership. So I think we need to, for me, I would have no changes, Stephen. I do think it'll be a very hassle-free, probably, I'll go 3-0 again. And then what that does is, not that, I mean, we're 13 points clear, so we shouldn't really be under any pressure. But what it does again, the Rangers playing on the Thursday away from home with their record is.
Are they playing Thursday? I thought they were playing.
I'm pretty sure they're playing on Thursday. So what it does, it puts, if we can get a good victory again, it just puts pressure on them going away from home where they are struggling against a Dundee team who are 7th, 8th in the league, but have picked up a no bad couple of results recently. So you just never know that they could then drop more points. Being away from home, it's not been great for them now. Like I say, I think it's 3 wins and 5 and 15 games. I think they've got something like 11. I think they've got something like 11 points or something at possible 30 away from home. So it's for a team of Rangers, whether folk like it or not, it's absolutely atrocious at the end of the day. It should be a lot better than that. So it's a chance to put pressure if there is any pressure on them at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're 13 points. As long as we maintain that, I'm not really too fussed what they do. Like we said, it's just a different thing to keep an eye on, obviously, because of their away form. McGinty and Jed
it's not just a wee bit of humour for us at the end of the day, innit?
Aye, so just a wee bit of poking fun and all that. They would do that to us. But McGinty, Jed come in there a couple minutes ago in the comments talking about maybe resting Calmac for this game. Can you see that happening more often? I mean, Rodgers done that, I think, before the Rangers game. He played Bernardo with Tate and Engels, I believe it was. And people say that was a great performance in terms of not always looking for McGregor, things of that nature, a bit quicker in the feet, quicker in the attack. I think we can maybe see, and we can afford to rest Calmac sometimes during the season.
I think so. You don't want to drop a player of Callum McGregor's standard and calibre. You also don't want to be actively looking to drop your captain without good cause and reason. To be honest, you would want him to play every game that you possibly can, but there's no shame in rotating the squad. I think what we need to recognise as a fan base, as the coaching staff, is that, and I'm not picking any one single player out here. I've done this before when it's been like guys like Brown and what's his boy's name we got for Kilmarnock, Malumbu back in the day. Brown and Beaton, the certain players that just can't work together in a domestic side for Celtic where we want to be on the front foot and attacking. You can't play two players who are too similar playing a defensive game. And I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening here with what I'm about to say, but I think it's becoming a bit obvious, and I don't know why, what the reason is. But see, when we're playing McGregor and Hatate and one of the other three, the midfield just doesn't seem natural. And I'm not saying that none of those players deserve to start, but I have noticed a few games where one of them, Hatate or McGregor, haven't played, and we've played, say, Bernardo, McKerran or Engels and Bernardo, whoever it is, along with just one of McGregor or Hatate. We do seem to play a slightly better game, I think. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that Hatate and McGregor is the same issue as Brown and Beaton or Malumbu. I don't think
just
it's
Hatate's the problem now.
Yeah, but there's just something that doesn't click. I don't know. Is it two players trying to play the same position and we're not controlling the midfield enough?
Pretty poor lately.
Is it just that Hatate's poor, but we know that he's not a shite player, sort of thing?
No.
I think there's great scope for rotation. I don't know what the best three is going forward, and I think that's a good thing just now because the options are so good. But we need to find something that actually works in the midfield to build that dynamic there. The same way that Franny's saying about the back two. You need to pick the pairing and go with it. And for me just now, that is Trusty and Carter Vickers at the back and not Scales. I've said it so many times on here. It's no disrespect to Scales and Greg Taylor, but those two together in the left side of defence, everybody knows it's not fans, it's not people who don't understand football or anything. Even our opponents know when those two are playing on the left side of our defence, that's the weak area. And they focus their attack down that side. It's just a matter of fact. Both are good players, but together they've got too many weak points that I think that just weakens us. So for me, the centre-back pair is Trusty and Carter Vickers, and we need to figure out the midfield trio so that we can get that team to settle in properly and build that partnerships up in those two key areas and just see how we can progress.
I think the most glaring thing for me before we wrap up the podcast is in the midfield, we're lacking a natural number 10. We're talking about fluidity. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe we're playing with 2 8s and we're playing with a 6. And the creativity is good, but it could be took another level if we had a number 10 like we had Rodgers. I mean, there's rumours we're interested in McAtee from Manchester City. That's always a rumour you hear in the summers and the January transfer windows, and just heard that one recently. But I think for me, when you think about Rodgers the first time, it was a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, so you had Neesham, Brown, McGregor, whoever it may be. One was sitting, one would run, and we'll have a natural number 10 behind the striker to create the opportunities, and two wingers like Sinclair and Forrest or Paddy Roberts, whoever it may be. So maybe that he's looking for a solution to that. Maybe he's looking to go back to that formation again. Maybe he's looking for a natural number 10. He's looking for a new winger, if we're led to believe here in the January transfer window as well. So different things maybe might come off in this transfer window going into the summer. But Franny, just to kind of dovetail off get these said about the midfield, can you see that? Because like you said, Rio Hatate hasn't been his normal self. You know, McGregor scored a few goals, but is tailed off again, and it's Bernardo, Engels, McKerran. So it's not settled. Rotation's good, but you do need that kind of that midfield core where you can call back upon and be like, this is the settled team, this is the first choice, this is who we're going to go with. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think in any sort of like any successful team, you want to have a settled back two and a settled defence and a settled midfield. The striking, you can maybe be a wee bit more fluent with that and rotate that a wee bit. But for me, it's Hatate's. I mean, me and Gavin spoke about it the other day there, and it was especially off back of a tweet that, fun enough, both of us had seen. And I think somebody had mentioned the Japanese Incham, and I think it's bang on the money, that comment. And now I think he's a 1-4, 1-3, four games type guy. He's just not in it now. And I think it's a bit. I wouldn't say it's a problem right now, but it's because we know, like McGinty was saying, we know he's a good player. We know what he can do. He is our most creative player. So it's almost accepting these bad games now, because you know that one game it'll click and he'll be bang on the money. So maybe we will look to get another creative player in. So it's not criticism of Bernardo or Engels. I don't think it's not necessarily their game. Engels does look like he's got a wee. I mean, both of them have got an eye for a pass and stuff.
Yeah,
they don't necessarily take it on the half turn as good as Hatate. They don't play the defence bit and pass as good as Hatate. and to a less extent McGregor can do that, but McGregor's obviously doing that for a deeper role, so it's not. It's more on Hatate to do that, and the problem with Hatate of recent, he's lost it all the time in the half turn. So I think for me now, I mean, I'm going to use the word problem, but I think that's too harsh. But I think Hatate is a wee bit of a problem now, and maybe we will look to. I don't envisage us doing it this window unless a deal comes available. But maybe we will look for another Matt O'Reilly, Rogic type of player, that creative guy, and maybe Rodgers will go back to that 4-2-3-1 formation that he played first time round. Don't know, but maybe we will. It might be something that looks at.
I don't know where it came from, if it is true or not, but I saw the one of the threads on one of the forums was bringing back the Polish boy who's playing at LA, Matthias Bugazzi. I saw his name getting cropped back up, and I don't know if it's because there's an actual link there. I think...
Is that bogus?
I think their manager might be rumoured to be eyeing up one of our players or something, so I don't know exactly what's going on there, but that seemed to be a very, very strong rumour, borderline almost done deal in the summertime. And I'd wonder if we entertain that again as not a natural number 10, but a much more attacking midfielder than the options that we got just now. And would that then link to potentially Hatate being the one who gets shown at the door as such? And I don't wish Hatate to leave. I would like Hatate to stay for many years to come still, because there's a great player in there. But just thinking how many players we have in that midfield, we're not going to be selling McKerran, Bernardo or Engels for the next 18 months, ideally. And we're not going to ever look to sell Callum McGregor. So that kind of leaves Hatate, if we are going to bring any midfielder in to change how we set up and play, as you say, playing a 4-2-3-1 rather than 4-3-3. If we bring in another midfielder to accommodate that number 10 kind of position, that's going to be 6 midfielders, which I want 6 midfielders to play for those positions, but there's a lot of actual first team quality players playing rotation when you look for that settle side. So I'd wonder if Hatate would be the one to then be likely to leave.
I understand that.
January/summer.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to talk again, Franny, or if you were building
No,
yourself
I just said I understand that logic.
No, so do I. The Strange of the Doctor and Brown Warrior as well, talking about they can't defend Rio in his current state of form. But look, we'll see what happens, getting deeper into the January transfer window. That brings us to the end of this podcast. We'll be back again on Friday, hopefully talking about a good result against Dundee United. Hopefully more drop points from Clementine and his squad. But look, have you enjoyed this one tonight, lads?
It's been good. Good to be back on a Monday.
It has been good. And the last thing I want to say is congratulations and good luck to Robbie Keane managing his boyhood club. I am supporting you with the cause of your boyhood club, Robbie. All the best to you.
I even forgot to mention it in all the heat and the comments in regards to what Roger said at the start. But no, yeah. Good luck, Robbie Keane, at your 400th boyhood club. But we'll talk to you again on Friday. Everyone, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.